Hey YouTube, hey, I'm Dr. Zachary Cole. Welcome to my channel. And in today's video, we're gonna be discussing your gallbladder. So look, we see a lot of digestive type cases here, usually people who have had their gallbladder removed and now are having some GI-based symptoms, or someone who's having some gallbladder symptoms and they've been to their doctor and been told something like this. You know, your gallbladder's ancillary, you can have it removed, you're gonna feel a lot better once it's out, and it doesn't serve any important purposes anyway. So I'm going to break down in this video, is that the truth? Is your gallbladder really just an ancillary organ? Will you be fine without it? And what roles does it play in your body? At the end of this video, if you've been, I'll give you two resources. Number one, if you've been a person who's already had your gallbladder removed and you're having a lot of GI-based issues, I'm going to show you a supplement that you need to take with every protein or fat-based meal, every animal-based meal or fat-based meal for the rest of your life. And on the flip side of that, if you still have your gallbladder, but you're having gallstones, gall sludge, just gallbladder-based symptoms, I'm going to give you a resource that you can use to begin regenerating your gallbladder like I've done. So on that note, before we dive into what is the gallbladder and should you keep it, you know, I have my own story with digestive issues where, to make a very long story short, in late 2019, I developed all these digestive issues out of the blue. It really affected my life. A lot of them went back to having poor gallbladder function. And like many people, I went and I had some testing done. My sister's a medical sonographer, so I had her scan my gallbladder. I had a CT scan. I figured I have to have some stones or something here. And all the scans came back normal. No gallstones, no nothing. It ended up being what I believe was just some toxic sludge or just an overburdened liver gallbladder complex. And it caused me a bunch of symptoms where I lost a lot of weight. I developed this autoimmune joint type pain. My digestion was horrible, signs of malabsorption. I had pressure under my rib cage. I had pain referred to my back, acid reflux, GERD, all these symptoms that were, there was other things going on too. But the first thing I noticed, and obviously the biggest thing that kicked it all off, was poor gallbladder. And I'll probably throw the liver into that too, poor liver gallbladder function. When I repaired that and I began taking the supplement that we'll talk about the end here, along with some other ones, it made a world difference. My joint pain went away. I gained weight again. I absorbed my food a lot better when I began to address the root cause, and I fixed my gallbladder. So if you want to learn more about my story, if you're watching this and you have digestive issues, I will have the link to that webinar. It's girevive.com. I'll put it beneath here. Go watch that masterclass, and you can learn more about my story and how we help people who have digestive issues. So what is your gallbladder? You know, what purpose does it play? What does it do in your body? First of all, if you would guess my answer to should you keep it or not, absolutely, at all costs, you should keep your gallbladder. It plays many important roles in your body, like we'll discuss in a minute here. And God didn't make your body with any spare parts. So you need it. You'll function better with it. Keep it if at all possible. Now, to give you an analogy of the gallbladder and its purpose in your body, I want you to think of your urinary bladder. What does your urinary bladder do? Well, as your kidneys are filtering your blood, they take the liquid, they take the urine, and it goes down into your bladder, and it fills up until it gets too full or close to too full. And then your brain, through your nervous system, sends a signal that it needs to be released. And you pee, you void your urine, and you feel better. Well, what would happen if you didn't have a bladder? You would leak all day long, right? You would require to wear a bag because you don't have a bladder anymore. You would just leak urine all day long. Well, your gallbladder is the same as your urinary bladder, except instead of holding urine, it's holding bile. It stores bile to release to help you digest and absorb your fats, along with other important things we'll talk about in a minute too. What's supposed to happen is when you eat a meal and the meal goes down your esophagus into your stomach, the stomach begins doing its action with the acids breaking things down. As soon as it leaves the stomach, that pre-digested food enters into the first part of your small intestine called your duodenum. And once it does that, just like your urinary bladder gets a signal from the nervous system, your gallbladder gets a signal from the nervous system too. It tells it to release the bile, B-I-L-E, which is made in your liver and stored in your gallbladder. When that food passes by it, it releases the bile in one bolus dose to fully surround and engulf that food, and it helps you to absorb the fats from your food. So we have very important fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. There are things called essential fatty acids that you must get from your diet. They're called essential because your body can't make them. And if you cannot properly extract these nutrients from your fats because you don't have a gallbladder, or you don't release proper amounts of bile anymore, you're going to reach a malabsorptive state. So your gallbladder is supposed to store the bile and release it all at once. Just like if you didn't have a urinary bladder, you would leak all day long. When you don't have a gallbladder, instead of being able to release that bolus dose of bile, it's just a little trickling all day long. And eventually, it might not happen the first day. You might feel better short term when you had your gallbladder out if you had some stones. but you will reach a point, most people that I work with have reached a point where now that it affects their digestion, they have malabsorption, they have all these other GI-based issues, because bile is very important. Yes, we talked about how it helps with your ability to absorb your fats and your fat-soluble vitamins, but it also helps to regulate your cholesterol and get rid of excess cholesterol. It plays a big detox role in your body, holding on to toxins and letting them go into the colon for elimination. It influences the bacteria in your microbiome. It kills infections. It does a lot of important things. That's why when my gallbladder went down, I had GI infections. I had autoimmune joint type pain. All these it's like my gut was a breeding ground for infections because I didn't have good stomach acid, good pancreas function, or good gallbladder function. And when I began repairing those things, a lot began to get better. So yes, you absolutely need your gallbladder. You're going to reach, malabsorptive states and just a spillover into other physiological systems in your body, other symptoms you're going to experience when you've had it removed. So if at all possible, keep your gallbladder. Now let's talk about what to do if you've already had it removed. So there's a supplement called ox bile, OXBILE. And what it is literally a supplement form to replace the bile salts that you no longer release whenever you eat a fat or animal-based containing meal. So there's many different brands that sell ox bile, and it's made from an ox. It's like a bovine type bile salts resource. And you'll take a couple capsules, depending on whatever size they are. You'll take a couple of them with every meal that contains fat, or I recommend every protein and animal-based meal too. If you eat an animal-based meal, you should be taking ox bile. Now, a pitfall that many people fall into is after they've had their gallbladder removed, their doctor will tell them, eat a lot more of a plant-based diet, avoid fats, avoid animals, avoid things that will raise your cholesterol, eat plant-based. And as I discussed in other videos, guys, that is a highway to digestive and health destruction. None of our ancestors ever ate a plant-based diet. They all consumed animal foods. So what do you do now that you're caught between this rock and a hard place where you need those nutrient-dense animal foods, but you can't absorb them properly anymore? Well, number one, take the ox bile with every meal. Number two is, you don't want to overeat as well. So do some plants in your diet. Of course, get the plant-based foods and follow a very balanced type diet. I recommend something called the Weston A. Price type diet. But when you look up that type of a diet, you're going to notice that there are a lot of fats and animal foods included in there. What you need to do is eat smaller meals and not a ton to overload your gallbladder or the lack of it, overload your digestive system all at once. Now, my favorite type of ox bile is called Cholecol. It's from this company called Standard Process. They are exclusively who I use with my own health. I use it with all my clients here. From trying many different supplements, that company made the biggest difference in my own life. So I will have a link to another video I've done about Cholecol and the other digestive products, 5 products that I took and I still continue to use to improve and balance my digestion. So I'll have those listed below here. You can click that link and learn more about that. So that's the first thing. If you've lost your gallbladder, or if you have gallbladder-based issues, you should still take that as well. Because if you're having like gallstones or sludge, or you have just a toxic gallbladder and you're not releasing the bile properly, your gut could use some support just from taking an exogenous source of those, taking them in a capsule form. The other thing is there's something called a liver gallbladder flush. And I'm going to share my screen in a minute here. Let me pull this up first. So there's something called a liver gallbladder flush. And I did this a couple times on my journey back to health again. Let me make sure you're seeing this screen here. Cool. So there's a book written by Andreas Moritz, and it's called The Amazing Liver Gallbladder Flush. It's a really interesting, informative book. It talks about much more detail than we are here, about the many roles your gallbladder plays in your overall health, and how many strange symptoms you may be experiencing could go back to a toxic liver gallbladder complex and the inability for your body to detox or release bile properly. So let me stop the share here. Buy that book. I'll have the link beneath here. It will give you instructions for how to flush your liver and gallbladder. It takes about a week of preparation to do. You get, for a short time, don't live your life this way. For a short time, you get some animal products out of your diet. You eat a low-fat diet, plant-based for a couple of days or so, specifically with apples and pears. And some of these things are going to soften up the gallstones. We drank a lot of apple juice in preparation for this. It'll soften up sludge and gallstones that are in your gallbladder and in your liver. Everybody has those to some degree. For a guy that had a CT scan and multiple ultrasounds and they all came back normal, I still passed a couple hundred stones after I had done this, because they're not just stored in your gallbladder, they're stuck in your liver too. And they're not always calcified, meaning they won't always show up on a scan. Sometimes you have a stone there, but it's like a putty type stone. It's still going to cause disruption of how things flow normally, but it won't show up on an image study there. So read this book. You do this preparation for about a week. The night you do the cleanse, you drink some Epsom salts to do a saltwater flush out of your bowels. Make sure they're totally empty. And then you drink this concoction of olive oil and grapefruit juice, or you can use lemon juice too. And that gets your liver and your gallbladder churning. You lay on your right side and go to sleep at night, and your liver drains better that way. Super interesting book. Read chapter 4. It's all about this. And you will flush. You'll probably might have to go to the bathroom in the morning because you do another saltwater flush too. Depending on how toxic your liver is, how many stones you have, you will flush out a bunch of those things in the morning. So I did that 2 or 3 times on my journey back to repairing my digestion. It made a big difference in my gallbladder. I have no pressure or gallbladder issues today. So those are the 2 resources there. I will, like I said, put links to all these things below. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer those for you. But keep your gallbladder if at all possible. It serves a number of important roles in your body. Like we said, you have no spare parts. They're all important. And if you've lost your gallbladder, don't lose hope. There's still things you can do to majorly improve your absorption of your foods and restore normal digestion as well. I hope this has been helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.